welcome back to the Always Reading Book Club. It is your girl Kiki Reader, and we're not going to do a one and done, but we are going to do a duet series. So this is a modern fairy tale duet series, and it's by Skye Warren, and the first book, or shall we say book one, in the series is called Beauty and the Professor. We meet Erin Rodriguez, who is a college student, and she has just arrived at the house of her employer, who is Blake Morris. So Blake Morris is a former professor at Tanglewood University, or it could be Tanglewood College, I can't remember. This is also the same school that Erin currently attends. She has like one semester left, and then she's going to graduate. So while Blake was in battle, he stepped on an IED, and it burned up 30% of his body. So when he came back, of course, he stopped working at the university and he's become a recluse. So Erin comes twice a week, and she wonders why, because he like keeps the house clean. But she's not going to complain because she does need the money. Like her scholarships and things like that, help take care of most of her tuition and books. So the job kind of more so helps for like her paying for her apartment. So her and Blake, aka Mr. Morris, is what she calls him, but he prefers for her to call him Blake. They have like really great conversations about like politics, histories, like all types of subjects. And so she's returning a book that he's loaned to her. And normally she could have just put the book, with the rest of the books. But she wanted to talk to him about it so they could have one of their great discussions. So she goes upstairs, and his bedroom door, it is open, and he's on his bed, he's naked, and he's jerking off. So he's saying nasty things like, you like sucking this cock, don't you? And she, of course, just listening to him and watching the sight before her, she's getting wet. So part of his face and chest and thigh, they're like all scarred. But the rest of his body looks, how it did before. So he's jacking off, he's saying these dirty things, and then he says her name. He goes, "Oh, Erin," and comes in his hand. So she was so turned on that she let out a whimper. And he looks and sees her, and he is completely mortified. She runs downstairs. He's calling after her, but she keeps running, but she doesn't leave the house. She starts like cleaning the counter, and she's freaking out, and she's scared like he's going to fire her. So finally he comes downstairs. He's stressed now, and he's like apologizing to her, profusely, like begging her not to quit. She looks stunned because she was like, "Oh, I wasn't going to quit," She's like, "I'm the one who needs to apologize for watching you in such a private moment." And he was like, "Okay, just don't quit." So he leaves, and she goes back to cleaning the house and is thinking that something has forever changed between them. And here's the thing, she had always found him attractive and liked him. So she's already had this little crush. So a few days later, she comes back, she's working, but something clearly is still off. And all he said to her was like, "Hi, Erin," when she first started, and then he just kind of disappeared. So after a while, she was just kind of like, "I can't work like this." So she goes and finds him and tells him, "I'm sorry about what happened last time that I was here, but, this has got to stop." And he was just like, "Apology accepted." But it still didn't feel like it was accepted. So then she asked him, "Well, when you said the name Erin, were you talking about me, or is there another Erin?" And he said, "There is no other Erin." So then she asked him, was it just that her name, passed through his mind, or was it he was really thinking about her? And he said, "I was really thinking about you." So she tells him, that if he wanted to do those things to her, she wouldn't stop him. He immediately goes, "I don't want you to think that I want to pressure you into doing anything you don't want to do." And she says, "You aren't pressuring me. I want you. Please." So he takes her upstairs, and they start kissing, And then he starts fingering her until she comes. Then he starts eating her pussy and makes her come like another like 3 or 4 times. Then he tells her that she can pretend he's anyone else, if she wants to, because like he sees that her eyes are closed. And so he's thinking like, she just doesn't want to look at me because I'm so hideous. Which is so sad. And it broke my little heart for him. Like, oh my gosh, But it was because she was in ecstasy, like enjoying this, It was nothing like that. But I felt so sad that like that's where his thought process goes, Like, oh, that broke my heart for him. She looks at him like he's crazy. And then she went and grabbed his dick and she started to suck him and he just lost it. Like, it was like, the fantasy come true. So she was taking him like all the way down her throat and she kept sucking until he like came down her throat. So when they went downstairs, he started to feel tremendous guilt and told her that, he'd have to let her go. And he kept apologizing again and told her, he's still going to pay her for the day. Well, she was pissed and she went off on him. And she let him know that she wasn't a prostitute and she didn't want to be treated as such. And he, of course, hadn't even thought about that. He was just feeling like, she's younger. I think she's like 15 years younger than him. And he feels like he's taking advantage of her. So she let him know that she wanted him. And so then she took him upstairs. She took him back upstairs. And they started kissing again. And then he put his dick inside her and he kept saying, mine, all mine. And they had an amazing lay. So 2 weeks later, they're still having great sex all the time. He feels like, he's just trying to savor as much of this time as he can because he's afraid, she's going to decide to throw him away. That's just so sad. I hate that he feels that way about himself. So she's thinking that, in her brain, she's more so like, she's a broke college student. He's 15 years older than her. And he's established. He's wealthy. And eventually he's going to get sick of her. And then after a session, he goes to his office, which he never lets her clean his actual office. Because I guess for him, it's like a sanctuary, I guess we can kind of say. He has a couple of pen pals all over the world. One of them is like a monk. And he's able to have these like really spirited conversations and just really forget about his reality. Erin comes down. She's watching him. And she asks, why do you always come down here? She's like, when do you sleep? And he does have a hard time sleeping. It's part of the, PTSD from, the whole explosion. So she even asked him about if he had someone and that she knows they haven't talked about it, but she just kind of wondered. And he was like, Erin, there is no one else. So we do get a little backdrop. Not what he told Erin, though, but just kind of a little backdrop. He was once engaged, and we do know that his family wanted him to go into politics, like Congress or something like that. So, but after the accident, both of those went away. Fiance left, so did the prospect of being in politics. So he asked her to move in. I'm like, damn, 2 weeks, okay. And she said, no, we need to take it slow. So he got a voice message, and it was a temporary associate professor position. And at first he's like, no, but she kept talking to him, and eventually he was like, okay, I'll take it. So Erin has now taken a job with like a maid service that sends her to like, rich, these mansions, since she can't work for Blake anymore. So it's now Blake's first day of the job, and she goes to see him. And when she gets to his office, he was speaking with some female students. Well, when they walked away, they said that basically he was fine as hell except for the fucked up side of his face. And they even said he could bend me over as long as I don't have to see his face. I'm like, damn, these bitches are savages, Shit. So then Erin goes into his office, and of course she doesn't know if he heard the girls or not, but she just wanted to make him feel wanted and sexy. And so she closes the door and she gives him a blowjob. He then bends her over, fucks her hard. And we do find out he did hear her. He did hear the girls, shall I say, and what they said. And he knew what she was doing, but he kind of thought it was more so that he felt bad that she felt bad for him, but it wasn't that. It was more so like she just, it's kind of like if you heard that, that's a very, that's hard to hear, right? And so she just didn't want him to feel like he wasn't wanted because she completely desires this man. So in walks Professor Melinda Jenkins. We find out this is his ex-fiance. Aaron doesn't know that yet. We know that because it does go, and I love when books read from two different perspectives. So it goes back and forth between the two, between Blake and between Aaron. So they were straightened up by the time she like busted in the door, and she asked Aaron like, why are you here? And Aaron was like, I'm cleaning his office. And he picked up on the lie real quick, and he was like, yeah, she cleans my house a couple times a week, and so I had her come in and clean the office because it was a mess, because technically it was a mess when he got there. So she dismissed Aaron and told her, she needed to have a private conversation with Blake. And so he was like, no, but Aaron was like, no, it's okay, I'll just leave. So after she leaves, she starts to have these overwhelming feelings of not being enough. She can tell by the interaction between the two of them that they were clearly former lovers. She feels like the Professor Jenkins is more of his, speed, So she gets a call from her mother, and we find out that her mother is sick, but we don't know necessarily what the ailment is. And that the doctor says she needs surgery. So the mother is like, I can't afford it. Aaron's like, they have programs to help with things like this. And she's like, well, I can't afford to be off of work for that long, And so Aaron was like, we'll figure something out. We've got to figure something out. The mom kept saying, no, this isn't for you to worry about, but this is her mom. She's going to worry. So Blake's upset that Aaron left, and he and Melinda have a combo, and she basically wants him back. And he reminds her that she left him because she said it was too much and she couldn't handle it. So she talks of how he was supposed to be, in Congress, and how everything changed after the accident. Well, that kind of lets me know right there why you wanted him, because it was about the prestige that you were going to get with being like a first lady or a first, you know what I'm saying? So right there, you're not genuine anyway. You can tell with that. So he basically lets her know that it wasn't happening, and that, he has a memory of how bad it got for him during that time, and how he didn't say this portion to her, but when he hired Aaron, that kind of brought him back a little, because he went into like a really dark space. Like, house was a mess. It was a trip. She goes to her apartment and she talks with her roommate Courtney and tells her everything that happened. Courtney, of course, was like, he was probably like in shock, and you're still supposed to go and see him tonight, aren't you? And she was like, yeah. So Courtney was like, well, let's give him something sexy to look at. So she has her get all dressed up, this sexy black dress, and she heads over to Blake's place. Well, when she gets there, there's another car in the driveway, and when she looks in the window, she sees Professor Jenkins in a long shirt and eating Chinese food. So she leaves. She's super hurt. She drives to school, just kind of sits on the bench. Well, actually, no, she stayed in the car. She just kind of sat and was just thinking about everything, and was like, you know what? This is why I don't need relationships. I just need to be focusing on my last semester. I can't be worried about shit like this, And she's thinking, again, that self-doubt, self-loathing, it was bound to happen for him to find someone that was more so on his level. But she does want to at least tell him about, her decision. So Blake was freaking out and for pretty much the rest of the day. He was worried that Aaron, she's not going to want him anymore after what happened in his office that morning. So he left from work. He went straight to her apartment, and she was gone, but her roommate, Courtney, was there. She told him he could wait there for her. She finally comes back. She's surprised to see him. He tells her how sorry he is about what happened earlier that day. She tells him what she saw at his place. And he was like, how the hell did she get in there? So then he remembered, like, he never changed his lock. So that means either that heifer had a key, or she knows where his spare is hidden. Either way, she cray-cray to me for doing that. They have a talk, and she tells him, she does believe him, But at first she was spiraling and started to feel unworthy of him. And he knew there was a story behind her feeling like this, so she tells the story. So about 2 years ago, because this was the last time she had somebody, she had a boyfriend. He was rich. He took her home for the holiday to meet his parents. They weren't too snobby at first when she told him, what her mother did for a living. She like clean houses. I think she owned her own cleaning business. They weren't too bad with her at first. But then when they found out who her mother was, it was a whole other story. Well, they told their son that her mother had stolen from them, and that but then her mother told Aaron the real story. And that was that the father had been trying to sleep with her, and she kept like pushing him off, and then finally she just quit. So Aaron actually thinks that father violated her mother, but her mother just doesn't want to say it. So she doesn't try and push it. Well, the boyfriend left her. She had to take a bus back to school, and it was like a 12-hour fucking trip. And then he never talked to her again. When she saw him back on campus, he wouldn't even look at her. He already had another chick. So, of course, Blake is like, that son of a bitch, and then they have this loving moment, and then she sucks him off, and they have a nice heart fuck on the couch. So that morning she wakes up and she sees like the fortune cookie papers from the fortune cookies, like coming out of his pockets, like from his jeans on the floor. And it's all of the different ones that they got those couple of weeks that they were ordering in and having Chinese food. Well, Blake was kind of staring out the window, and when she comes up behind him, she's like, "You kept all these?" And he's like, "Yeah, because I hope that one day they will become true." That's so sweet. So she told him, she loved him, and he had said the first day that he loved her, right? The first day they fucked, he said it. But he didn't say it anymore because he wasn't trying to scare her away. So then they have like a really loving moment. So they wake up the next morning and they have another hard fuck session before she leaves. She tried to get out before he woke up, but he caught her. After she leaves, he goes to the hospital, and we find out when the IED blew, it took out his whole unit except for one other person named Joe. I think his name he was a lieutenant. And he is still unconscious. So this has been years. Joe has a fiance who comes by every day, and she believes wholeheartedly that he's going to wake up. I think she has a kid too. The kid's probably, I think it was a baby. And now I think the child's in like preschool or something. So kid's a few years old. So she leaves, and then he has to talk with Joe, tells him about Aaron and how Melinda's trying to get him back. And we also find out that he has paid off the mortgage for their condo, and I think he's probably footing the bill for this hospital as well. And he apologizes to Joe for not coming to see him in so long. So it was a nice little sweet moment. The next day she has to, aka Aaron, she has to go and get books, and Courtney's coming with her. Courtney's tired because she was partying the night before with her on and off again boyfriend named Derek, who was currently not her man. So then they have a back and forth because Aaron decides to tell Courtney that, she can do better. And Courtney decides to tell her, well, you're fucking a professor. So I was like, see, this is why, don't throw judgy statements at people and then not be able to receive the judgy statement that's going to come back. You know what I'm saying? Now, at the same time, I do feel like for her to say that to her, that means you've been feeling that way the whole time about her messing with the professor, even though it's only been a couple of weeks. It's not like it's some long-term thing. But she's been going back and forth with this Derek dude for years. So I'm just saying, it's not like this girl doesn't know the more ins and outs of the relationship that you have, and she sees that you're trying to run behind him, so she's trying to tell you to stop. But again, I would just keep my mouth shut. I wouldn't say anything. That's your business, You're an adult. You know what you're doing. You'll figure it out. I wouldn't have made that statement. I would have left it alone. Um, she also made a comment to her about, Courtney did, saying to her, have you even told your mother? First of all, why would I tell my mother who I'm fucking after 2 weeks? I'm just saying. Like, why would I tell her that? Like, come on. Like, try something else. So, that was effed up too. So they go to the library and she checks her schedule, and guess who's gonna be her professor? Good old Blake. So she's freaking out. She tells Courtney, and she's like, well, just switch or, drop the class. But I guess she needs this one in order to graduate. And so she decides she's just not going to say anything. So she goes to Blake's place that evening, and he can see something's wrong, but she doesn't tell him. She just starts sucking him off. And then they have like this nice heart fuck session. So the next morning, she decides to tell him that she isn't going to graduate because she doesn't have the money. And of course, he's like, I can help you. And he's like, move in with me and let me take care of it. And she, of course, was like, no, I can't do that. He tells her, this isn't like your mom and Doug's dad. And she, of course, gets super defensive and it's like, that's not it. But inside, she knows that's the true thing, because there's this issue of class, You're upper, I'm lower, and that whole I'm not good enough type of thing. So then she tells him about the class, and he was like, oh shit, and he was ready to quit. And she was like, no, like, no, you deserve to do this. No. But he was like, I don't want to be the reason for you not graduating. And I can't imagine not being with you for a semester either. So they decide they just going to keep it on the low. And then they have a nice fuck session. So before his first class, Melinda's ass comes to his office and he asks her why the hell was she in his house the other day. And she says because she still had her spare key and she wanted to rekindle the relationship. It's a hell of a way. She's a ballsy chick. So he told her that that's never going to happen. I have changed the locks and don't you ever come back, because if you do, I'm calling the police. So now she's furious and she tells him, fine, I only tried to because your mother called me telling me that she was worried about you. So she's like, I don't see how you can walk around here with your face looking like that. People are going to stare. That right there lets me know that is how you think of him. That your opinion of him has not changed. It's just the mere fact, let's be honest, he's got money. Like, he comes from money. He's still distinguished. He just was in an accident. That's it. So, lets you know she's just a trash ass person. So he goes to class and he sees something's off with Aaron, but he doesn't know what it is and he can't get into it, in class. He does have a great class session. A lot of back and forth with the students. Great class. So then we find out that Aaron had heard the ending of the conversation where Melinda had asked him if he was going to this faculty event, and she had just automatically assumed that they were going together. That's why you shouldn't assume. So that night they talk and she tells him about what she heard and he tells her, what the whole conversation was. So then they have another great fuck session and he literally has a thought, God help her, because I don't think I could ever let her go. So the next day she gets caught by Melinda on her way to class. Melinda takes her into her office and tells her that she's looked at her transcripts. She sees she's a good student. But then she starts talking about all the debt that she's acquired. Are you sure you want to just jump and go into graduate school when you already have all this debt? And so Aaron's like, hell, I'm already in debt. I might as well go ahead. So then Melinda says, well, it seems you've gotten yourself a benefactor. And Aaron knew immediately, oh, this bitch knows. So Melinda tells her that she cannot see that Professor Morris anymore outside of the classroom if she doesn't want any problems. Poor Erin has tears coming down her eyes because the heifer even showed her pictures where he was fucking her in the living room. So this bitch is dirty. Oh my gosh. And she was looking at her grades and was like, did you really earn these A's or did you do some extra credit another way? So she bolts out runs into another professor who's has always thought really highly of her, thought of her as a great student, and he tells her there are allegations of plagiarism that have been brought against you by a faculty member. I'm like, fuck, you gonna go through all of this to try and ruin this woman for a man you really don't fucking want, but you don't like I think what it is she doesn't like the idea that he's not trying to be with her because she left him, which means he still wanted the relationship. So as long as she was walking away, it was okay. But she feels like when I come back, bitch, you're supposed to just say, hey, just accept it. And he doesn't want her. She knew someone else. He had someone else because she could tell, and she's pissed. But you're going to go to these lengths? Like, what do you think you're doing? You're not going to ever, like, okay, you're blackmailing a girl. He still don't want you. Even if everything ends with Aaron, he's still not going to fucking be with you. So you're just being nasty for no reason. Just a nasty bitch. So she puts a note on his door. I think she went to his home. Aaron did. And she pretty much said it's too risky. This has got to end. And she left, went to her apartment, talks to Courtney about it. Of course, she told her she did the right thing. She's super upset with herself because she didn't even put up a fight when Melinda was coming at her. So Blake sees a note. He knows Melinda's got something to do with this. He just knows it. He goes to her office, confronts her. She, of course, was like, she's not good enough for you. She isn't even good for you. We would be so much better together. And then Blake tells her about, what he knows, which is that she had a rejection letter in her file that magically disappeared, and that her father had donated money for a wing at the school, and that was how she had gotten her position. So she kept pleading with him about them being together, which to me is just so fucking pathetic. Like, seriously. Read the fucking room. He don't want you. And then he told her, oh no, then she showed him the pictures, the fuck pictures, and we find out she had hired a fucking private eye to get that shit. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's just so sad. So then he tells her basically, they come to a conclusion. You keep my secret, I'll keep yours. You let that secret out, I'm gonna let yours. They come to a truce. So he leaves a note for Erin. I think it was on her apartment door, I think, telling her that he took care of it and he put love Blake. So she talks to her mom on the phone, tells her mom, because her mom knows something's going on. So she tells her everything that's happened, and she tells her mom about Blake. The mom freaks out because she has this, it's the complex with rich people, and she's experienced stuff. So of course now that's how she sees them all, So the mom's upset, but the mom's like, I'm not trying to make you upset, but this is for the best, But the truth is, she loves her Blake, and this isn't what she wants. So then she goes to his house, and he told her, basically he was pissed because he's like, you didn't even come to me. You just gave up. You just left. And he even made a dig to her, which I didn't like. He made the comment, well, at least Melinda told me to my face she didn't want me. You just left me a note. First of all, don't compare me. I don't like that. That irked me. I didn't like that. And I love Blake's character, but I did not like that comment. Like, why are you trying to hurt her? You know why she did it. She was fucking afraid. She's trying to figure out a way not to get you pulled into anything either. It's not like she did this to be selfish. What Melinda did was based on selfish reasoning, when she left you. That is not why Aaron did that. It was to try and protect you as well. So I didn't like that dig he did to her. That made me like, oh, fuck you. So she keeps apologizing. And he told her, basically he's like, if you come inside, I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm not going to be able to stay away from you. And she's like, but that's what I want. I want to be with you. And so she tells him to take her upstairs. They have a great fuck session. And then he gives her this detail. I'm not going to go through that, but he gave like a detailed account of what happened with the explosion with the IED. It was too long. I don't want to do all that. Um, they have that conversation, and then after it, he just starts really feeling like he's got to stop being selfish. He needs to let her go, and he tells her, we need to end this. And the poor girl is just so broken. Now, this is why I'm upset. Why the hell did you fuck her and then tell her that? And I understand that, sometimes people come to different realizations at different times. I get that. I promise you I do. But how fucked up is that you just fucked me and then you tell me that? So now he got 2 strikes against his ass. So the next book in the series, or the last one, because it's only a duet, is called Falling for the Beast. And we're going to dive into that one next week. What did you guys think of this one? I liked it. I mean, I really liked it. From the beginning, her walking in and seeing him jacking off and hearing him say filthy stuff, that was so hot. It really was. But he's pissed me off. Like, in the last few chapters, he pissed me off because he didn't have to do that to her. She didn't deserve that. So she's brokenhearted. So we're going to see how this thing is going to end, and we'll wrap it up next week. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section, in the discussion board. Make sure you like and subscribe. If you're in the market for a beautiful notebook, I will have a link available in the description section below where you can purchase them. As always, I truly do thank you all for your support, and thank you for tuning in to the Always Reading Book Club.